To be an Avenger is an honor that many Marvel heroes strive for, and every year, more and more make the cut. Heroes like Eric Brooks, or as most of us know him, Blade. Blade has been around since 1973, so it actually took me by surprise when I learned that he didn't become an actual mainline Avenger until Avengers Volume 8, number 12. Born with an extremely unique vampire physiology, Eric used his powers to wipe out evil vampires, taking on the title of Daywalker. Now, to be fair, he was once part of the Mighty Avengers before being invited to join the main Avengers team by Black Panther. But while on the Avengers, he did a lot. Like, I mean a lot. He ended a vampire civil war, saved Ghost Rider in hell, battled the Dark Elf Malekith in the War of the Realms, helped stop the Egyptian god Khonshu from taking over the entire Earth, and he recruited Dracula and his vampire nation to help fight Null, the symbiote god, and King in Black. Blade came to the Avengers with a heck of a lot of supernatural expertise, and he was amazing on the team until he left to be Dracula's own sheriff, which... what? Roberto da Costa, the mutant who also goes by the name Sunspot, first ever joined the Avengers, accepting Captain America's offer alongside the mutant Cannonball. Sunspot came across as a bit of a comedic member of the team, and he didn't really seem to take his Avenger status as seriously as others did, but that pretty quickly turned around. Where Iron Man used to fill in the laid-back billionaire role on the team, Roberto stepped into that role pretty smoothly and got the team out of quite a few problematic moments. It's arguable to say that he really stepped into his own as an Avenger when he bought the whole of AIM and used the organization to create his own Avengers team in New Avengers Volume 4, and then again in US Avengers. His time as an Avenger not only boosted up his status from a C-list hero to one in the spotlight, but it also brought multiple creative Avengers series, which as comic book fans is something that we will not be upset about, ever. Maya Lopez, also known as Echo, is honestly really cool. She has really cool photographic reflexes just like Taskmaster. She's been Ronin for a time and even been a host for the Phoenix Force, and she also became an Avenger. Now, initially Maya was actually a bit of a villain, being manipulated by the Kingpin in order to try and take down Daredevil. Luckily though, Maya was able to discover the truth about Kingpin and the lies he fed her, and that pushed her into reshifting her focus to become a hero. It was from there that she became Ronin, and thanks to a good old recommendation from Daredevil himself, she met up with Captain America and started working with the New Avengers in 2005. She would eventually be brought down by Elektra, and she would eventually be saved and revived, helped out during World War Hulk, Secret Invasion, and she even worked very closely with Moon Knight for a while before being revived yet again, and was eventually granted the Phoenix Force. She would eventually join the actual true Avengers in Avengers Volume 8, number 54 from 2022, facing the multiversal Masters of Evil. Next up, a former Marine and scientist turned superhero, Adam Brashear is not only one of the strongest heavy hitters in Marvel Comics, but he is also one of the smartest characters around. Blue Marvel didn't actually make his debut in Marvel Comics until 2008, but when he showed up, his origin story retroactively placed him in the Marvel Universe way back in the day. His origins take place in the 1960s during a project to use antimatter as an energy source. Adam and his best friend Connor were caught in an explosion that turned Adam into a living, stable antimatter reactor, which should in theory pretty much impossible, and it gave him an insane amount of power. Brashear would rejoin the superhero community alongside Luke Cage's 1970s Mighty Avengers, which in the real world happened in 2014, before he went on to join with Captain Marvel and Black Panther on the Avengers adjacent team known as the Ultimates in 2016, and most recently, he joined the Defenders and went rather, beyond. Next up, Eden Fessy, aka Manifold, first appeared as an incredibly underrated hero in Jonathan Hickman and Brian Michael Bendis' Secret Warriors series, alongside a group of other legacy heroes recruited by Nick Fury in 2009. Now, Manifold is a mutant with the insanely godlike ability to manipulate space, which he most often uses as a teleporter. He was actually the student to another mutant teleporter known as Gateway, but following with writer Jonathan Hickman, Manifold joined the Avengers in Avengers Volume Volume 5 in 2014/2015 for one of the greatest Avengers runs we have had in a long time. As the Avengers expanded to a bigger scope than they have ever done before, Manifold was pretty instrumental in some of their galaxy-wide conflicts, and he even sacrificed himself during Secret Wars. Thankfully though, he was brought back and has become one of the most powerful and versatile mutants and Avengers. Now there have been multiple Nova Primes throughout the history of the universe. Richard Rider is absolutely the main one and he is fantastic, but when we first got Samuel Alexander in Point One Number 1 in 2011, he brought just a whole different vibe. Granted, being a younger guy with some huge shoes to fill, he doesn't exude the same kind of power that Richard Rider does, but that doesn't make him any less powerful. Sam has grown into a hero all of his own. He's fought alien warlords, evil Avengers doppelgangers, and interdimensional monsters, and he absolutely deserves the Nova mantle. While he can be reckless from time to time, thanks to his youth, independence, and loyalty, he still got offered a spot on 2016's all-new, all-different Avengers #1 by none other than the God of Thunder, Thor himself. Unfortunately for the Avengers though, Nova left the team pretty soon after with a few other younger heroes to form the Champions. And one of those young heroes was none other than Miles Morales. In the aftermath of the multiversal event Secret Wars, the second Spider-Man of the Ultimate Universe, aka Earth 1610, joined Marvel's main Earth 616 reality, and not too long after that, he also joined the Avengers in 2016 alongside Nova and Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. Now Miles has essentially all the same abilities as Spider-Man himself, but then he has some that are wholly his own, and they're actually pretty cool. His signature difference in my eyes is his venom. It's like a form of bioelectricity that he can emit from his body and use in some really cool ways, like in punches, beams, and blasts, and he can even infuse it into his own webbing. Miles is also able to use a spider camouflage to make his whole body and even his clothes and costume go invisible, but as I already said with Nova, these younglings weren't on the Avengers team for very long, leaving to form the Champions. But for Miles, his powers and his awesome mind actually lent a lot to the Avengers while he was there, and in return, he learned a heck of a lot from the older heroes while he was on that team. The Smashers of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard are human-like aliens using exospecs to grant themselves powers. Now for a long time, Vril Rock was the Soul Smasher, but he unfortunately met his end at the hands of the incredibly powerful mutant Vulcan. Isabel Izzy Kane is the granddaughter of World War II hero and Captain America buddy, Captain Terror. She was first ever introduced in Avengers Volume 5 #1, and Izzy found the exospecs of a Smasher on the farm that she was raised on. These exospecs spoke to her and beckoned her to put them on, giving her access to the Smasher's powers. Izzy then traveled to the Shi'ar world of Chandalar, where she became a sub-guardian of the Imperial Guard. Now after returning back home to Earth, Izzy's grandfather with his last words told her to become a hero, and he gave her Captain America's business card, which, I'm sorry, that's kind of hilarious. Now being the first and only human recruit of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard, gaining super strength, speed, energy blasts, and flight, plus her adventurous spirit and her grandfather's legacy, Captain America brought her onto the Avengers pretty quickly and with no contest, making her a big part of the team's spacefaring adventures. Vani Gast was the daughter of the Grand Master, one of the Elders of the Universe. She grew up exploring the cosmos by her father's side. Now when her father's title was threatened, she was granted teleportation powers that also had the added benefit of being able to alter people's memories. Vani took up the hero name Voyager and headed to Earth. Now Voyager met up with the Avengers and used her powers to insert herself into their memories as Valerie Vector, a founding member of the team who had bit the dust in the battle against the Squadron Sinister, which had removed her from existence and from everyone's memory. The Avengers' longtime butler, Edwin Jarvis, had collapsed due to an illness shortly before Voyager's arrival, so naturally, when Voyager arrived to the hospital Jarvis had just woken up in, he exposed the truth that Voyager had never actually been an Avenger. While this obviously didn't do her any favors, and she was pretty much booted from the team, she did admit that this was all the plan of her father, while she was actually inspired by the heroes and helped the Avengers to save the day a few times. And last up, the Avengers Unity Squad, first appearing in Uncanny Avengers, was an attempt to try and mend the human-mutant conflict after the events of Avengers vs. X-Men. The idea? To take some X-Men, to take some Avengers, and just put them together. It's kind of surprising that it really hasn't been done before. Now, one of the first main recruits, handpicked by Captain America himself in Uncanny Avengers Volume 1, Number 1 from 2012, was none other than Anna Marie, aka Rogue. Being a former villain and still mourning the loss of Charles Xavier, Rogue caused quite a bit of friction on this new team. She originally joined in order to keep an eye on the Scarlet Witch, who was also in the team of heroes, and as most of you know, caused quite a devastating blow to the mutant community with M-Day. But as time passed, Rogue became one of the most valuable members of the team, even growing to become its leader. But if we are talking about most powerful, while Rogue was on this team, she managed to absorb all the major Marvel heroes' powers and fought off a Celestial. So I'd say that's pretty darn powerful. But that is all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching and making it to the end of the video today on Top 10 Nerd. My name is Adam Andrews. I will catch you all on the flippy flop, and even if I don't, stay safe and peace out, nerds.